Method is the soul of business. Old saying. I am a businessman. I'm a methodical man. Method is the thing, after all. But there are no people that I more heartily despise than your eccentric fools who prate about method without understanding it, attending strictly to its letter. And violating its spirit. These fellows are always doing the most out-of-the-way things in what they call an orderly manner. Now here I conceive as a positive paradox. True method appertains to the ordinary and the obvious alone, and cannot be applied to the auteur. What definite idea can a body attach to such expressions as quote-unquote methodical jacko-dandy or quote-unquote a systematical will-o'-the-wisp? My notions upon this head might not have been so clear as they are, but for a fortunate accident which happened to me when I was a very little boy. A good-hearted old Irish nurse, whom I shall never forget in my will, took me up one day by the heels when I was making more noise than was necessary, and swinging me round 2 or 3 times, did my eyes for, quote, a squeaking little spalpeen, quote unquote, and then knocked my head into a cocked hat against the bedpost. This, I say, decided my fate and made my fortune. A bump arose at once on my sinciput and turned out to be pretty as organ of order as one shall see on a summer's day. Hence that positive appetite for system and regularity which has made me the distinguished man of business that I am. If there's anything on earth I hate, it is a genius. Your geniuses are all arrant asses. The greater the genius, the greater the ass. And to this rule, there is no exception whatever. Especially, you cannot make a man of business out of a genius any more than you get money out of a Jew, or the best nutmegs out of pine nuts. The creatures are always going off at a tangent in some fantastic employment or ridiculous speculation entirely at variance with the, quote, fitness of things, and having no business whatever to be considered as business at all. Thus you may tell these characters immediately by the nature of their occupations. If you ever perceive a man setting up as a merchant or a manufacturer, or going into the cotton or tobacco trade, or any of those eccentric pursuits, or getting to be a dry goods dealer or a soap boiler or something of that kind, or pretending to be a lawyer or a blacksmith or a physician, anything in the usual way, out of the usual way, you may set him down once as a genius, and then, according to the rule of 3, he's an ass. Now, I am not in any respect a genius, but a regular businessman. My daybook and ledger will evince this in a minute. They are well kept, though I say it myself. In my general habits of accuracy and punctuality, I am not to be beat by a clock. Moreover, my occupations have always been made to chime in with the ordinary habitudes of my fellow men. Not that I feel the least indebted upon the score to my exceedingly weak-minded parents, who, beyond doubt, would have made errant genius of me at last, if my guardian angel had not would come in time to the rescue. In biography, the truth is everything. And in autobiography, it is especially so. Yet I scarcely hope to be believed when I state, however solemnly, that my poor father put me, when I was about 15 years old, of age, into a counting house of what he termed, quote, a respectable hardware and commission merchant doing a capital bit of business. A capital bit of fiddlestick. However, my consequence of this folly was that in 2 or 3 days, I had to be sent home to my button-headed family in a state of high fever and with a most violent and dangerous pain in the sense, but all around my organ of order. It was nearly a gone case with me then, just touch and go for 6 weeks. The physicians giving me up and all that sort of thing. But although I suffered much, I was a thankful boy in the main. I was saved from being a, quote, respectable hardware and commission merchant doing a bit of capital business, unquote. And I felt grateful to the protuberance which had been my means of my salvation, as well as to the kind-hearted female who had originally put these means within my reach. The most of boys run away from home at 10 or 12 years of age, but I waited till I was 16. I don't know that I should have gone even then. If I had not waited to hear my old mother talk about setting me up with my own hook in the grocery way. The grocery way! Only think of that. I resolved to be out off forthwith and try to establish myself in some decent occupation. Without dancing attendance upon any longer upon the caprices of this eccentric old people, and running the risk of being made a genius of in the end. In this project, I succeeded perfectly well at the first effort, and by the time I was fairly 18, found myself doing an extensive and profitable business at the tailor's walking advertisement line. I was enabled to discharge the onerous duties of this profession only by that rigid adherence to system which formed the leading feature of my mind, a scrupulous method characterized my actions as well as my accounts. In my case, it was method, not money, which made the man. At least of all of him that was not made by the tailor whom I served. At 9 o'clock every morning, I called upon that individual for the close of the day. 10 o'clock found me in some fashionable promenade or other place of public amusement. The precise regularity with which I turned my handsome person about so as to bring successively into view every portion of the suit upon my back was the admiration of all knowing men in the trade. Noon never passed without my bringing home a customer of the house of my employers, Messrs. Cut and Come Again. I say this proudly, but with tears in my eyes, for the firm proved themselves the basest of ingrates. The little account about which we quarreled and finally parted cannot in any item be thought overcharged by gentlemen really conversant with the nature of the business. Upon this point, however, I felt a degree of my proud satisfaction in permitting the reader to judge for himself. My bill ran thus: Messrs. Cut and Come Again, merchants, tailors, to Peter Prophet, walking advertiser. July 10th. To promenade, as usual, and customer brought home $25. July 11th, to ditto, $25. $0.25. July 12th, to one lie second class, damaged black cloth, sold for invisible green, 25 cents. July 13th, to one lie first class, extra quality and size, recommending milleted and satin as broadcloth, 25. July 20th, to purchasing brand new paper shirt collar or dicky to set off crepe Petersham, 75 cents. August 15th, to wearing double padded bobtail frock, thermometer 706 in the shade, 2 cents. August 16th, standing on one leg 3 hours to show off new style strapped pants at 12.5 cents per leg per hour, 25. August 17th, to promenade, as usual, and large customer brought, fat man, 37.5 cents. August 18th, to ditto, medium size, 25. August 19th, to ditto, small man and bad pay, 6. Comes to $2.95.5. The item chiefly disputed in this bill was the very moderate charge of 2 pennies for the dicky. Upon my word of honor, this was not an unreasonable price for that dicky. It was one of the cleanest and prettiest little dickies I ever saw, and I have good reason to believe that it affected the sale of 3 Petershams. The elder partner of the firm, however, would allow me only 1 penny of the charge, and took it upon himself to show in what manner 4 of the same size conveniences got to be out of 1 sheet of foolscap. But it is needless to say that I stood upon the principle of the thing. Business is business, and should be done in a business way. There was no system whatever in swindling me out of a penny. A clear fraud of 50%. No method in in any respect. I left at once the employment of Messrs. Cut and Come Again, and set up in the eyesore line of myself one of the most lucrative, respectable, and independent of the ordinary occupations. My strict integrity, economy, and rigorous business habits here again came into play. I found myself driving a flourishing trade, and soon became marked man upon quote-unquote change. The truth is, I never dabbled in flashy matters, but jogged on in good old sober routine of a calling in which I shouldn't, no doubt, have remained to the present hour, but for a little accident which happened to me in the prosecution of one of the usual business operations of the profession. Whenever a rich old hunks, or prodigal heir, or bankrupt corporation gets into the notion of placing up a palace, there's no such thing in the world as stopping either of them. And this every intelligent person knows. The fact in question is indeed the basis of the eyesore trade. As soon, therefore, as building project is fairly afoot by one of these parties, we merchants secure a nice corner of the lot in contemplation, or a prime little situation just adjoining or right in front. This done, we wait until the palace is halfway up, and then we pay some tasty little architect to run us up an ornamental mud hovel right against it, or down east, or Dutch pagoda, or pigsty, or an ingenious little bit of fancy work, either Eskimo, Kickapoo, or Hottentot. Of course, we can't afford to take these structures down without under a bonus of 500% upon the prime cost of our lot and plaster. Can we? I asked the question. I ask it of businessmen who would be irrational to suppose that we can. And yet, there was a rascally corporation which asked me to do this very thing. This very thing. I did not reply to their absurd proposition, of course, but I felt it a duty to go that same night, and lamp black the whole of their palace. For this, the unreasonable villains clapped me into jail, and the gentleman of the eyesore trade could not well avoid cutting my connection when I came out. The assault and battery business, into which I was now forced to adventure for a livelihood, was somewhat ill adapted to the delicate nature of my constitution, but I went to work in it with a good heart, and found my account, as heretofore, in those stern habits of methodical accuracy which had been thumped into me by that delicate old nurse. I would indeed be the basis of men not from error well my will. By observing, as I say, the strictest system in all the dealings, and keeping a well-regulated set of books, I was enabled to get over in many serious difficulties, and in the end to establish myself very decently in the profession. The truth is that few individuals in any line did a snugger little business than I. I will just copy a page or so out of my daybook, and this will save me the necessity of blowing my own trumpet. A contemptible practice of which no high-minded man will be guilty. The daybook is a thing that don't lie. January 1st, New Year's Day. Met Snap in the street. Groggy, mem. He'll do. Met Gruff shortly afterward. Blind drunk. Mem. He'll answer too. Entered both gentlemen into my ledger, and opened a running account with each. January 2nd. Saw Snap at the exchange. and went down and trod on his toe, doubled his fist and knocked me down. Good. Got up again. Some trifling difficulty with Pag, my attorney. I want the damages at 1,000, but he says that for so simple a knockdown we cannot lay at more than 500. Mem must get rid of Bag. No system at all. January 3rd, went to the theater to look for Gruff. Saw him sitting in a side box in the second tier between a fat lady and the leading one. Quizzed the whole party through her opera glass till I saw the fat lady blush and whisper to G. Went round that end of the box and put my nose within reach of his hand. Wouldn't pull it, no go. Blew it and tried again, no go. Sat down then and winked at the lean lady when I had the high satisfaction of finding him. Lift me up by the nape of the neck and fling me over in the pit. Neck dislocated and right leg capitally splintered. Went home in high glee, drank a bottle of champagne, and booked the young man for 500. Bag says it'll do. February 15th. Compromised the case of Mr. Snap. Amount entered in the journal, 50 cents, which see. February 16th. Cast by that ruffian Gruff, who made me a present of $5. Cost of suit, $4.25. Net profit, see journal, 75 cents. Now here is a clear gain, a very brief period of no less than $1.25. This is in the mere cases of Snap and Gruff, and I solemnly assure the leader that these extracts are taken at random from my daybook.